Hey everybody, it's Mark Arnstein, Remax Hallmark, and of course livingnorthtoronto.com. This is vlog number 71, and today we're talking about the latest news and mortgage updates with Peter Puzo, Dominion Lending top producers, our local mortgage expert. Peter, thank you for being out here again
My
today.
pleasure.
So for those who have seen Peter before, he's been on our guest many times. We love having Peter on because he's always a wealth of information.
Thank you.
Peter owns and operates Dominion Lending top producers right here in the neighborhood over on off of Avenue Road. And he's just always been a phenomenal source of information and is amazing what you do. So thanks again.
Mark. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So as we know, the Bank of Canada a week ago raised the overnight lending rate by 1/4 point. And the biggest concern everyone's having is, what's that going to do to the market? What's that going to do to my affordability? So what are your thoughts about this and about what the impact that's going to have, just that 1/4 point, and what's going to happen going down the road as well?
Yeah,
so double question.
Good question. So I mean, going down the road, the market seems to be pricing in 3 or 4 additional increases. My gut tells me 3 is more likely where it's going to go, barring any unforeseen circumstances. The geopolitical situation in Russia, if that gets worse, we may hit the pause button. At the same time, Russia's a big producer of oil,
right?
And cutting them off would actually make inflation worse because gas prices would go up. But
which they already have.
Yeah.
I saw the price. I drive diesel, and I almost fell over when I saw the price of diesel. It's almost like $2 a liter.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm telling my variable rate clients to expect 3 additional 1/4 point increases. The Bank of Canada meets 6 more times this year, so conveniently they might just go up 1/4 and then pause, go up 1/4, then pause, and then go up 1/4, then pause. That gives them time to see what the impacts of those increases are. Typically it takes about 6 months. There's a 6-month lag to see if there are any impacts to the rate increases. And it's not rocket science. They're trying to fight inflation.
Right.
Whether or not these increases in fact do that, we'll see. But time will tell.
Right. Okay. So, and one of the things I want to get into is that with these rate increases, there comes that point, because if you're in variable, that you can actually lock in at some point if you want to.
Right.
So, and one of the big questions people ask all the time is like, well, should I lock in? Should I lock in? Should I lock in? And typically, historically, variable has always been the better way to go over the course of your mortgage. So at what point is there, or do you feel there is not going to be a point where you say, you know what, guys, you should lock in at this point?
Right. The criteria that I use as to when to lock in is the similar or the same criteria that I use whether or not to go variable in the first place. Right. So at the end of the day, it comes down to 2 things. What's the outlook on variable rates going forward, and what's the delta between variable and fixed rates?
Right.
So even with this 1/4 point increase, we have variable rates, for argument's sake, around 1 3/4. The 5-year fixed is north of 3 now, 3.1, 3.2. I'm telling my variable rate clients that if it's me in their shoes, I'm just riding it out.
Right.
I'm going to stay variable for the entire period and see what happens. There are some extremely intelligent people that believe that 2023, we may actually see rates come back a bit.
Right.
So I'm telling my clients to just, ride the roller coaster, so be it.
Well, but even if, so based on what you're saying is even if it goes up 3 times over the course of the year, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's, so total of
2.5, you'd be at 2.5.
So if you're at 2.5 and the 5-year fixed rate is over 3 today, which is probably going to go up down the road
Correct.
As that time goes on,
right,
you're still going to be way further ahead staying in the variable.
You are.
Right.
You are. And I mean, look, we saw fixed rates sub 2% for a long time.
Right.
If clients weren't going fixed then, they're likely not going to convert now. But people generally panic when they see multiple increases. And it all comes down to not speaking to the right person.
Right.
So if you're speaking with an experienced broker, just saying, our job really is oftentimes to just tell our clients, hey, calm down. It's going to be fine.
Right. Okay. And one of the things I think is also super important, and people kind of get caught up in this too, is that as it's the purchase price, but actually at the end of the day, it's the payment, right, that matters the most, because it's what can you afford, regardless. The purchase price doesn't matter that much. It's like, what can I actually afford? So if I can afford a $2,500 or $1,500 or $35 or $5,000 monthly payment, as long as I'm working within that payment structure, then the purchase price really at the end of the day has no bearing on it.
Correct. And remember, we're qualifying everybody on benchmark,
Right.
which is 5.25. That hasn't changed.
Right.
So whether your variable rate was 1.5 or 2.25, if you qualified at 525, it should still be well within your affordability.
Right, okay. And, you know, for example, just to kind of give people an idea, is like, you know, if you had a $500,000 mortgage today and you're on a variable rate mortgage, your payment probably went up to what, a whopping $65?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's minimal.
It's minimal. It's minimal.
Yeah. And keep in mind that there are two of the major banks that we work with whereby when variable rates go up, the payment actually doesn't change.
Right.
So, and I have those discussions with my clients when choosing which bank we want to go with.
Right.
There are variable rate clients where the products whereby the payment actually does not change.
Right, okay. And I think the other thing that's really important to know on this as well is that, you know, everyone's saying, oh, you know, with this bank change, the market's going to come down, and, you know, it's going to, and it's like, and I'm thinking on the real estate side of things. If you look at the average, and I said this last week when I spoke about this, is that with the average price being well north of $2 million for this area, I mean, you have semis now selling for, on average, are selling for now over 2. Detached is into the, you know, the older square plans are into like, you know, the 2.5 range and working up. Everyone's going in with 20% down because the minimum qualification for a minimum $1 million mortgage is you have to have conventional financing 20% down.
Yeah.
So really the impact this is going to have more effect on is going to be the people that are in the lower price points, not so much people that are in the upper price points.
I agree. Look, as you know, we live in and work in an area where there's high demand.
Right.
And so when I'm speaking to borrowers that are looking to buy in this area, I almost say to them, disregard the rates, like, because if you're not buying that property, somebody else is. You know, there's just too much demand.
Yeah.
But as we go, you know, into the suburbs, if rates continue to rise, maybe we see the number of people that are attempting to buy homes go down. I do have other realtors in the suburbs that are saying they're seeing multiple offers come down a little bit.
Right.
So instead of 15, now there's only 5 or 6.
Which is fine.
Yeah, totally.
So now one last question. And again, even with these rate increases, as we're getting towards the end of COVID, thank God.
Thank God, yeah.
Right. So it looks like we're, you know, hopefully at the end of this month we're going to be mask free now. Immigration is going to start to come back into the city. It was going to have a big impact. So again, is that going to help cool the market or help elevate the market?
Immigration, as far as, you know, the government needs to bring 400,000 people a year into this country.
Yeah.
They're all going to flock to 2 cities you know very well, Toronto and Vancouver.
Right.
It's supply and demand, right? That's why, you know, we've been saying for a long time, Toronto was underpriced when you compared it to other international cities. And Paris, you know, Manhattan, very, very underpriced, and may still be very underpriced.
Well, even compared to Vancouver is like, you know, is grossly underpriced.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, you think about like a $5 million purchase in Vancouver here is probably equivalency to about a $3.5–4 million purchase.
Wow.
So it's a big discrepancy.
There's still a 20% delta or so.
100%. And I've said this all along. I really think as that immigration comes back into the city, it's going to put more demand onto the marketplace.
For sure.
Because most people are coming in with like money. They're coming here to live and work, and they want to buy, and they want to get ingrained into the culture and to living in Canada. And one of those things is owning real estate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I for those that, you know, are hoping for some sort of mass correction in the major urban cities like Toronto,
right?
I just don't see it.
Awesome, Peter. Thank you so much for doing this. I really totally appreciate it. If you want to reach out to you and ask any questions, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Email's best. Peter@mrmortgage.ca.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
All the best. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us along on social. Take care. Have a great day, and we'll speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.